SpeakPipe.com. We got some voicemails to get through, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to have your voice heard, if you want to talk to the face of the franchise, ask a question, give a thought, football-related, sports-related, life-related, whatever, get involved with SpeakPipe.com. The link is in every single video description. Okay, let's go ahead and start. We have maybe a dozen, 15, something like that, voicemails to get through. Let's go ahead and take a listen, shall we?
Hey, James, this is Chris Swanson back at it with you, my guy. And first of all, I understand our defense has given up a bunch of yards and a bunch of chunk plays, but we did something in the Falcons game that we weren't able to do against the Panthers, the Eagles, and the first Falcons matchup. We closed out the game on the defensive side, and that was improvement for me. I know Rizzi's going to motivate him every week, play hard, scratch, claw, bite the kneecaps off like Dan Campbell would say. He gives off that energy, and that's all I need to see. But the
let me say this about the Saints are closing out games or have closed out the last two games. Or the Browns game, was kind of a blowout at the end there, but the Falcons game definitely. But you got to remember that the NFL is such a razor thin game where a lot of the times it is a 50-50 situation. One team kind of wins it, one team loses it. Who gets the credit for that? Do we get the credit for, Kirk Cousins' interception, or is it on Cousins? Is it on us? Is the missed field goals with Cleveland on us? Is that on Cleveland? A lot of the times it's just way the cookie crumbles and way the ball bounces. And luckily, in the Falcons game, it bounced our way. And the Eagles game didn't bounce our way. The first Falcons game didn't bounce our way. So it is, serendipitous, I guess, that is happening with Rizzi kind of taking over. But it just shows those variables in the NFL and how thin the margin of victory is.
Browns game, MVS is a revelation, and I can't wait. I hope that him and Shaheed are able to come back and play on the same field next year. Two burners, that's danger.
If they were on the team at the same time, I doubt they would be on the field at the same time versus some empty set, four receiver set that we really don't do that much. But MVS is good, but MVS is Rashid Shaheed, and Rashid Shaheed is MVS. The idea of MVS is what we're missing. It's we have had that in Shaheed. We are missing it currently with Shaheed being out. But it just shows how this offense does need that kind of burner. It does need that burner aspect to it. So the whether it's Shaheed or MVS or whoever, we're certainly better with a player like that on the field.
And with Chris Olave, that's danger for defenses as well. But Taysom Hill had an amazing elite game. This man is a once in a lifetime, once in a generation type player.
Yeah, we haven't seen someone like Taysom, or we haven't seen someone do what Taysom does since, Red Grange and Jim Thorpe and players like that. We see it in college sometimes, but yeah, he is a blast from the past.
And he's one of the most unique players in history. And this is the best game I've seen in my lifetime. I'm only 23, but probably all of history. I believe he's a Hall of Famer. I'm not saying first ballot Hall of Famer, but I believe he should be a candidate for a Hall of Fame. But what do you think? Should Taysom Hill be in the Hall of Fame for his career and what he's done?
It's interesting because, as an individual player, you could argue, well, not really. As an individual player, he is certainly good, but he's not a Hall of Famer. But then if you kind of look at it through the history of the NFL and you look at it like a bigger, kind of just a footnote of history, he probably should be in because he's so unique. And if kick returners and punt returners and punters and field goal kickers and long snappers, if they have a place in the Hall, then Taysom probably has a place in the Hall. I guess it depends on what you think the Hall of Fame should be. If you think the Hall of Fame should be for who are the best individual players, probably not. If the Hall is a museum of the NFL, basically, and a snapshot of its history, Taysom should be somewhere in there. But Reggie White, Reggie White being in the Hall of Fame is very different than Taysom being in the Hall of Fame. So you just got to make sure it fits. You got to make sure it fits what, I guess, the criteria you want out of the Hall of Fame. Now, Devin Hester is a good example of like a guy who, is he the greatest returner ever? Maybe. He was certainly a specialist. He certainly shouldn't have been in there as far as like, being a wide receiver or anything. But if you look at the grand history of the NFL, yeah, he probably is a Hall of Famer. Individually, maybe not. So if Hester's in, I think Taysom should be in.
What's up, James? This is Chris Swanson back at it with the man, the myth, the legend, the best in New Orleans media. You're the face of the franchise.
I'm on a whole
love
other
your
level.
content. I just want to say I love Rizzi. I love Darren Rizzi. He reminds me of Dan Campbell a lot. He's
very similar. Very similar. And I think Campbell got, so when Campbell first popped on the scene, he kind of got a bad rap because he was so like boisterous and so, aggressive, and just like what he was saying, he looked like he just didn't belong as a head coach. But then if you look back at what he was doing, he was like associate head coach, and he was kind of on that track. And Rizzi is similar to where Rizzi, the first thing you're hearing about him is how he took a dump and clogged the toilet, and then you're hearing how he got a stinger from celebrating, and he kind of looks and sounds like Campbell. So he's getting kind of the same rap, but in reality, like, Rizzi has been on the track to be a head coach, and Rizzi does have the infrastructure knowledge and the operational knowledge to be a head coach, and arguably he's better fit to be a head coach than someone like Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen, he's much more of the like coordinator turning into a head coach versus like Rizzi and Campbell, who, yeah, they're coordinators, but they also are on like a very specific coaching track, a very specific head coaching track. And I think they have a little bit more of that, the practice, like the architecture of the practice and the locker room, and just how the logistical side of things fit. And that's so important for coaches. And I think Rizzi does have that. I think Campbell has that as well.
Passionate, he's committed, has the player support, jumps on sideline when a play's made. He shows that passion, he shows that fire. With us and the Lions, there's similarities there also. Alvin Kamara's like Jahmyr Gibbs. And if we can find David Montgomery type player, then that would be good.
Well, Taysom is your David Montgomery type player. I mean, that's kind of it, right? Like, and Gibbs is incredible. He's better than Alvin. But like, Alvin is the Gibbs type player, and Taysom is the Montgomery type player.
And Amon St. Brown and Chris Olave is pretty much the same player.
Amon-Ra is way better.
James Williams and Rashid Shaheed are basically the same player.
Williams is better too.
So we have similarities there. I think Foster Moreau could be a Sam Laporta type player.
I mean, these are all A-level players, and then we have like the C, D-ish level version. Besides Kamara, Kamara's not a C or a D level version, but like Rashid and Jameson Williams, and Amon-Ra and Chris Olave, and Laporta to Foster, and Hutchinson to Chase Young, there is a difference.
But I would rather have a good tight end, a better tight end, and upgrade. Our defense can be upgraded if we're able to make the playoffs. Hypothetically, the future looks bright. We could just retool, but if not, we could just fix roster spots. I think we have some aging players about to leave. We can upgrade those positions. I like where we're headed. I think we can finish as an 8-9 win team. If we win out, that would be great. But I love where the future's headed. I love where we're heading as a franchise. And what's your thoughts on everything?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm kind of in the same boat where it's like, I look around at this team and I look around at what I'm seeing. It's like I kind of like this. Like, I kind of like the system. I kind of like the scheme. I kind of like Rizzi. I kind of like the players. I mean, yes, we absolutely have to upgrade at certain positions. I do not like the roster needs to be updated, or just upgraded. It's just not good enough to win at the highest level. But I do like I kind of like what we have going on. Like, I like Kamara in this system. I like Talise Fuaga. I like Eric McCoy. I like the actual system itself. I like what Kool-Aid has done so far. We definitely need to get better on the defensive line. No doubt about it. We definitely need another piece or two in the secondary. Like I said, you can like the team and be happy with the team and feel pretty good while acknowledging that there does have to be some pretty serious roster upgrades. I like it's like driving in like an old Mercedes or something where you like the car, like you like how it drives, you like the foundation of the car, but you obviously need an upgrade. Like at a certain point, you just have to get better, and we just have to get better. I think people are sometimes they can be very much like, well, if the team isn't winning, how can you like it? And if you like the team, why aren't they winning? Like it can be kind of confusing, but I like the structure of the team. I like the bones. Like I like that. We just have to make it better and upgrade. And we have to do that through the draft, through free agency, and by getting out of bad contracts and restructuring deals. So, we're right there. We're right there. We're in a better spot than a whole lot of other teams. So, but I do like what's going on. All right, No Diddy Cam. Unbelievable name. No Diddy Cam. This is shocking.
James, you know what's really been grinding my gears?
Let me know.
Jamal Williams.
Yeah,
he's kind of been grinding my gears since he got here. Bro showed up, talked about anime a whole lot, and did absolutely nothing on the field.
He loves anime.
He's been given chances. And every single time he's been given a chance, he's ran for 2 yards,
2 yards.
He scored a touchdown last year. That's about the most memorable thing that I can think of whenever it comes to his performance on the field. It's really been pissing me off. He's become very annoying to me. And honestly, I'm excited to see him go. I want to know what your thoughts are.
To me, he is a non-issue / non-factor because he doesn't do anything. When he got signed, I was right here in front of God and everybody on this channel, and I said, why are we signing Jamal Williams when we have Taysom Hill? Jamal Williams led the NFL in touchdowns. About 90% of them were 1-yard touchdown runs. Jamal Williams' specialty is getting 2 yards. And that sounds like a negative, and it is. But when it's 4th and 1, 3rd and 1, goal line, 2 yards is basically 100 yards, right? So Jamal Williams kind of made a career over converting short yardage situations. The idea was, well, maybe he can be the bruiser back to Alvin Kamara's more of like the, more explosive dynamic back. Well, the problem is you already have the best goal line / short yardage back in the NFL in Taysom Hill. So if that's the case, what exactly is Jamal Williams doing? Now you got to remember, this is with Pete Carmichael and a little bit of a different situation. So they might not have had the same regard for Taysom Hill and his ability to do this like short yardage running type situation. But yeah, I just didn't understand the signing, and it's worked out exactly how I thought it would work out, where when we are on the goal line, he doesn't get the ball. When it's short yardage, he doesn't get the ball. So if he's not doing that, what the hell is he doing? So yeah, it just didn't work out. That was bad roster management. That was a bad decision. And yeah, he'll go out with a complete whimper, millions of dollars, and probably a ton of Pokemon cards, and that I can respect. All right, Big Edwin Carter, you are up next, my friend.
Yo, James, what's going on? This is Ed from Kentucky again.
What's going on?
I appreciate how analytical and data-driven you are, and because of that, I wanted to ask you something.
Okay.
Now, of course, we just won 2 in a row, so everybody, has their hopes really, really high. You watch your team because you want to see them win. I get the tank people, but I'm not watching them to see them lose. So,
agreed.
Given this hypothetical, let's say the Saints win out, right? They end up 10-7.
Right.
Given the current landscape of the NFC, what is the plausibility of them making the playoffs? I think there's a lot of
at 10-7. At 10-7, I would say 100. I would say, I don't, nothing's guaranteed, but if you told me the Saints go 10-7, I would probably say there's like a 90% chance that they make the playoffs. There's probably a 90% chance they win the division at 10-7.
Teams that we didn't foresee being as good as they are. So like the Vikings, for example, the Commanders, I don't know if 10 games would be enough to secure a wild card spot. I think the Falcons currently hold the division tiebreakers.
They do. Yeah.
So if us and the Falcons both end up 10-7, I think that edges to the Falcons.
It does. Correct.
If I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
I could be wrong though. So that's why I wanted to pose this question to you. If we went out, do you believe we make the playoffs? Do you believe that secures us a spot, or is it iffy? Let us know, please. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I mean, we can let's take a look at the schedule right now and try and do some deducing. All right, so we are at the NFL schedule predictor. So we're going to try and do this real quick. All right, real fast. But we're going to kind of pick the games, pick the favorites, whatever, and then we're going to give the Saints a win out. So we're going to have them win every game and just see how it all shapes up. All right, so like I said, I'm going to do this quick. So we'll go Texans, Dolphins, Broncos, Ravens, Lions, Chiefs. On this side, we'll go Vikings. We'll go Bucks, Commanders, Cardinals, Green Bay, and Philly. Okay, so we'll do that, and we'll just keep going through week to week and try and see what happens. Okay. All right, KC, Indy, and feel free to play along at playoffpredictors.com. We'll go Steelers, we'll go Bengals, home division. Texans, Broncos, Packers. We'll go Chargers. We'll go Seahawks, Commanders, Ravens, Bills, Lions. Oh, disgusting game. We'll go Giants. Giants. Let's go Vikings, Saints. We'll go Bucks. Okay, keep going here. This gives you a look at what might happen. We'll go Titans, Steelers, Dolphins. And I'm basically going like all favorites. This is kind of how we're doing this. So obviously, all favorites aren't going to win all these games, but you got to kind of, for us to do this like quick like this, we kind of just go with the favorites. All right, Vikings, Saints, Eagles, Cardinals, go Niners. All right. Okay, Saints beat the Commanders. That's huge for what we're talking about here because the Eagles are going to win that division. Let's go Vikings, Seahawks. Let's go Rams, Ravens, Chargers, Cardinals, Lions, Eagles. I think the Falcons have to lose this game for us to. The Falcons are going to have to drop some games. Is a big problem, but I don't know if the Raiders is the game. So we need the Falcons to start losing. Absolutely. All right, then we go KC. We'll go the Jets. We'll go Titans, Texans. All right. We're almost there. We've got a couple weeks left. All right, so then we go Bengals, Chiefs. Let's go Ravens, Titans, Bills, Chargers, Raiders, Rams. Tough game there. We go Niners, Lions, Eagles, Cardinals, Seahawks, Bucks, Saints. All right. So in week 16, and then we'll go Falcons. So week 16 looks like this. All right, you got the Falcons 8-7, Bucks 8-7, Saints 8-7. All right, keep on going. Now remember, we really haven't given the Falcons very many losses. Let's go Steelers, Ravens, Bengals, Chargers, Titans, Bills, Dolphins. We'll go Browns. Tough game for Miami there. Let's go Colts, Saints, Seahawks, Rams, Commanders, Green Bay. Yeah, we'll go Green Bay. Bucks, Eagles, and we'll go Lions. Okay. So we're going into the last week of the year. As you can see what's going on here, we got Bucks 9-7, Saints 9-7, Falcons 8-8. All right. So then we go to the last week, and we're going to have the Saints beat the Bucks, which would give the Saints the division. So under this, without any like real crazy losses, without anything really crazy happening, if the Saints went out, they'd probably win the division at 10-7. So that would kind of answer that playoff question. If we go through the rest of the NFL, you go Chargers there, Chiefs, Texans, we'll go Colts, Steelers, Ravens. And this week would be kind of weird because you might have some teams sitting. Like some teams might be sitting players, so it's like why would they care? Then we got, then we have Rams, Cardinals, Green Bay, Washington, Detroit, and Philly. So on the right side is your NFC. Okay, so then let's see if we go to the playoffs. So right now we'd have the Lions winning their division, Eagles winning their division, Cardinals winning their division, and the Saints winning their division. And then the wild card would be Packers and Vikings. Vikings at 12-5, Packers at 11-6, Commanders at 11-7 would be your wild card. So the wild card under just purely like good teams went out looks like that. Now, I'd be stunned if, we have a 16-win team, a 12-win team, an 11-win team all in the NFC North, a 14-win team, an 11-win team like that. This is all a little controversial yet brave, but if the Saints win out, it's hard to imagine them not winning the division, I would say. So there you go. Boom. There's the answer to that one. Okay, next up, CJ, you are up.
Hey, James.
Wait, we listened to this one, right?
James, to keep these guys motivated.
Okay, no, wait. Okay, no, we're on Cam No Condiment. Cam No Condiment. That was from my boy Ed from Kentucky. That's right. Cam No Condiment, No Bun is up next.
James, I think it's time to cut the crap and get down to the brass tacks.
Let's do it. I'm all about that.
If the Rizzler is
Yes.
able to keep these guys motivated,
Yes.
and if he's able to build on what he did last week
Okay.
for the rest of the season, I want him as my head coach next year.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I haven't seen these guys pumped and motivated and happy since the Breeze era. I really haven't.
Well, not since week 2. They were really happy and really pumped and really motivated in week 2 after the Cowboys game. So, you don't have to go back too far.
I don't really even
It's amazing what winning can do.
care if we lose half the games for the rest of the season. If I see performance from the players and the right morale and mentality from the players, what do we have to lose? I mean, this guy's been ranked among one of the better head coaching options from other teams in the league. I want to have a problem with it later.
Well, if we start losing games, the motivation, the happy, all that stuff that will not be around. I can promise you that. That's just not how it works. So, if he keeps winning games, I think he will be the head coach. And I would right now pick him as the head coach if they keep winning games. CJ, you're next.
Hey, James. I want your opinion on: do you believe the Chiefs are a real 9-0 team, or do you believe that they're more like a 7-2, 6-3 type of team?
They're more of a they're fugazi. I mean, they are the Chiefs, right? Like they are the Chiefs, but they are certainly not a 9-0 team. If you are following my Twitter / Instagram, you will see that I put out my weekly top 10s. So I do my weekly top 10s. The graphic department is doing fantastic with this. Again, this is on Twitter and Instagram. But here, I said let me go to the other one, because I talk about where I didn't think the Chiefs were going to beat the Bills. Here we go. Yeah. I think we'll finally have a new number one after this week. So I have not really believed in the Chiefs. And the Chiefs, I saw a stat where the Chiefs have led less during games than the New Orleans Saints have, which is crazy. But when you have Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and a team that's used to winning, that's what happens. So to answer your question, no, I do not believe they were a true, and that's why I dropped them to 5. I dropped them to 5 because if you take away the undefeated, mark, all of a sudden now you can kind of grade them for what they actually are. And I grade them lower than Baltimore, lower than Buffalo, lower than Detroit, probably still lower than Pittsburgh, even after the Browns game. So, no, I did not believe they were a true 9-0 team. I remember a few years ago, maybe 5 or 6 years ago, Pittsburgh started 9-0, and they were a very fugazi 9-0, where it was very defense driven. And they ended up just floundering and not doing much of anything. The Cardinals have done the same thing. The Cardinals will start off 10-0, 10-1, and all of a sudden they just fall apart. So sometimes the result, and that's why I always say you got to kind of look at the underlying factors. You got to look at the underlying metrics. You can't just look at wins and losses.
And the only why I'm asking that is because, a lot of their games are pretty close. A lot of their games are only winning by one score. And obviously the final score is not the whole story. But even looking at their box scores, they're not dominating by a lot. There's only a few games where they really dominated and deserved to win.
Against
but
the
there's
Saints.
other games where I'm just you could see like this should have went towards this team, or it could have still went towards them. But outside of those things, looking at like watching like the actual games, like first off, like the Broncos game just recently, honestly, they should have lost. They should have lost that game at that final second, because I wanted someone to really give me the percentage on like field goals that should be made at. I forgot. I don't know what the yards were where it was at, but I'm pretty sure there's like an 80-90% chance of that field goal being made. So it's like they're just really just slipping away just by very little. And I really think they're just kind of getting lucky in a way. And I really do believe they're not as good as what people say. I generally think that like the Lions and the Ravens are a better team than the Chiefs. And I could be wrong. So I just want your opinion on that. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What's your thoughts on that?
I 100% agree. I mean, 100% agree. You know, we kind of went over that, but you're right that the box score is very important. You know, I know I showed this box score earlier in the week, but where is it? Like the Vikings Titans. Okay, so this game right here, like you see Vikings win, move to 8-2. Okay, but then you go to the box score, and the Vikings had a 4.7 yards per play, which is below average. 5.1 is about average. They had 2.5 yards per rush. Like, this is not great. Now, they did win, and they probably deserved to win. Like, it's a pretty even game. I mean, the Titans had 5.3 yards per play, but they only had 1.7 yards per rush. 13 penalties, turnovers are tied, 5 more minutes of possession for the Vikings. So you could say, like, okay, the Vikings did deserve to win, but is this a good performance? No, it's not. It's certainly not a 10-point win. Absolutely not. Let's look at another one. Another one is a big outlier. The other one's a big outlier is the Dolphins game. So you look at Dolphins-Raiders, right? If you just look at the score, it's like, man, the Dolphins smoked the Raiders. The Dolphins are back. They had 34 points. 34 points, the Dolphins' offense is back. Then you look at this, and it's like, well, wait a minute. They had 5.5 yards per play, which is okay. The Raiders had 5.3. The Dolphins had 3.2 yards per rush. They won the turnover battle. Wait a minute. Like, the first downs are about the same. The total yards are about the same. How the hell did they win by 15? Like, should they have won? Yes, the Dolphins should have won this game. They should have won by 1, 2, 3. They shouldn't have won by 15. So you got to be careful with wins and losses. You have to be really careful with how you grade stuff. Similarly, okay, Eagles, Commanders, close game, right? 8-point game, 1-possession game. Okay, Washington's good. They hung in there with Philadelphia. Then you look at this, you're like, well, hold on a second. Washington had 4.2 yards per play. Philly had 6.2. Philly had 5.7 yards per rush. Washington had 3.3. Philadelphia beat their ass. Philadelphia won the turnover battle by 1. This should have been a 15 to 21 point win. 21's a little strong. This should have been a 14, 15, 16, 17 point win. That's what this should have been. So really, this game should not have been close. It was close. I mean, look at the yardage. 434 to 264. First downs, 23 to 18. So you absolutely, if you want to really be in this thing, like if you want to really be a step ahead, the best way to do it is you go on Monday morning or Sunday night or whatever, and you grade the box scores. I do it every single week. I go through and grade every box score, and I see who should be faded the next week, who's underrated, who's overrated. So like this, the Vikings are overrated right off of this game. The Dolphins are overrated. The Raiders are underrated. The Titans are underrated. So then you go into this week, okay, and you look at like, okay, the Titans are playing the Texans. The Broncos are playing the Raiders. I would not be surprised at all if the Titans played the Texans close and the Broncos and Raiders were close, because just the way the narratives are and the way the underrated versus overrated. It doesn't always work, but that's a great start to how you can start thinking kind of better than just what the group think is. Like, oh, well, this is the group think. The Broncos are sweet. The Broncos are winning. The Broncos almost beat the Chiefs. The Raiders just got destroyed in Miami. But if you're thinking ahead of the game, you know that's not really true. They didn't get destroyed in Miami. Okay, so Carnival with a K, so you know it's real. You're up next.
Hey, James, how's it going? I hope your day is going well.
Oh, thank you.
My question is, do you still think that even with everything that has happened this season, that the Saints could mathematically still win the NFC South?
Mathematically, yes. Will they?
My
Probably not.
reasoning for asking this question is the fact of just looking at their schedule and looking at the NFC South division records within the division. We play the Browns next week. We play the Rams, the Giants, the Commanders, Packers, Raiders, and then, of course, we finish off the season with the Buccaneers.
I think the only way you win the division is if you win out or win all but one, which means you either have to sweep the combination of Rams, Commanders, Bucks, or you have to win 2 out of 3. And the one you lose cannot be the Bucks. So it's a tightrope, but you can now, of course, if Atlanta totally collapses, if Tampa totally collapses, then that changes the math a little bit. But if all things work basically how you think they will moving forward, the Saints definitely have to win out or win all but one.
I could see the Saints beating the Browns, Rams, and Giants. Commanders, that's a 50-50 game. Packers is obviously a 50-50 game. I feel like we could beat the Raiders, and the Buccaneers are always a tough team to play against divisional-wise. With our remaining schedule and the way that we're sitting, Falcons 6-4, Buccaneers 4-6, both us and the Panthers are 3-7. Do you think there's still a mathematical chance to win the division and sneak into the playoffs?
Yeah, I think we can sneak in the playoffs even without winning the division. We're still going to have to win 9-10 games. If we win 10 games, I think we win the division. We just showed that with the playoff predictor. But tightrope, man, tightrope. We need some help. Now, if Atlanta and Tampa start losing, helps us out big time. Divine Eternity for 90 seconds.
What's up, James? We finally got the win. And it feels even better because it was the Atlanta Falcons. So
this is after the Falcons game right here.
Yeah, man, yesterday was a good day. I'm recording this on a Monday, but shout out to you for standing on the front lines through the storm. You showed up and you stood behind this team. So salute to you, brother. You're a true who dat.
Yeah, I mean, I call it like I see it. I tell it like it is. I mean, I do. Y'all know, if y'all been watching this channel for long enough, y'all know how we break down these games, how we look at the NFL, how we look at football. We do not get too high and we don't get too low. We just look at it for what it is. And a lot of the times, that is a very in the minority view of sports, is when you look at it kind of just like a numbers thing, kind of just like a business thing, where the data says something or the numbers say something, therefore it is that. Derek Carr. Derek Carr is incredibly polarizing. A lot of people hate Carr. A lot of people like Carr or love Carr. I don't really care about Carr. I could care less about the actual player. I care about the production. And so if the production numbers show positive, then I'm fine with it. Totally cool. Kendra Miller, another great example. Kendra Miller, a lot of people believe he's the future. We can develop. We can do this. He's electric. He's got a lot of potential. I don't really see any of those things because they're not quantifiable things. I see production versus Taysom Hill and Alvin Kamara's production. Thus, he's my third option. And if you're why would I want my third option to be getting a ton of carry? So because I keep it like that in my analysis, I think it allows me to not get to where some of these other analysts are, where they get very emotional with the games. And I've noticed this with the Pelicans. And this is kind of a sidebar. So a lot of the Pelicans, and if you're watching this, take this as unsolicited advice. A lot of Pelicans content creators are fans first, which is fine. It's okay to be a fan. I'm a huge fan. Obviously I'm a fan of the Saints, but when you're giving analysis, you kind of have to put your fan hat on last. Because if you're just I saw the Pelicans were in Cleveland, or maybe it was Dallas. And a lot of Pelicans content creators were we're going to win this game. The vibes are high. I believe in this team. We're going to win. And then we got absolutely dog walked by 40. And we're 14-point 14-point dogs. Like, it's one thing to say, I think we're going to cover. I think we're going to cover because of blank matchup, blank this, blank that. But just to be like, fingers crossed, vibes high, we're going to win every single game, and I'm never going to, like, that's an injustice to the audience, I think. I think it's an injustice if I come up here and say the Saints are going to win every single week because the Saints aren't going to go 17-0, right? Like, no team's going to go 17-0. So you have to be, now I'm rooting for the Saints to win every game, for sure. But when they're 8-point dogs at Kansas City, it's like, I'm not saying they're going to go win. I'm saying we can keep it close, we can cover, and then we don't cover. But, there's some games where I'm like, look, bad match over the Saints here. I would not take the Saints. We'll just see how it goes. So I appreciate that, though. But I do try and keep it, pretty level.
I want to talk about Dan Rizzi's philosophy. I think compared to Dennis Allen is very more aggressive. It's very more raw. Under Dennis Allen, this team felt like it was more conservative and way more held back. I mean, Cam Jordan just got a sack, and he hasn't had one of those in like forever. I like what we did on offense. I know I was hard on Kubiak, but I mean, what you want me to do? We just lost 7 games, so I think I saw a little bit better. I'm not really a fan of the conservative play-by-play Derek Carr. I like when Carr is throwing the ball downfield, and I think Rizzi had a lot to do with that. I like the idea of Carr throwing 40 bomb touchdowns because even on his worst days, when he can get that ball downfield and get those completions, man, we're a threat. So, I think we're still in that 7-10, 8-9 world right now. But if Rizzi can pull off a win against any other good team, we're good to go.
Yeah, so this is obviously before Cleveland, so I bet he is real happy after the Cleveland game. But, the Kubiak thing, like, you look back at it, and ladies and gentlemen, my hand is jacked. So I had popped a blister. This is just I didn't pop it. It just kind of opened up. This is from just deadlifts and just farmer carries and just, how I roll. But look at my hand. Just a complete, look at that. Look at that. Jesus, but I'm powering through it. It's when you look back at it now with Kubiak, it is kind of funny to say, like, damn, we were being really critical of this guy when he had Spencer Rattler, Bub Means, Mason Tipton, Connor McGovern, and who the hell ever else. Like, and you look back, and it's easy to, like, it's like, okay, yeah, like, oh, and we're facing the Denver Broncos, the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So when you look at it through that lens, it is very much like, all right, maybe we were, and not we, I've loved Kubiak this whole time, but, it's like maybe we were too quick to judge Kubiak's performance in those games, So, but that's kind of what I'm saying whenever, and it's really easy during a 7-game losing streak to be like, fire everybody, get rid of everybody, this team sucks, this coordinator sucks, this team is ass. But then you think about it and you're like, well, we were facing like the Kansas City Chiefs on the road with Connor McGovern, who had been on the team for 5 days, and we had Mason Tipton and Bub Means, like, okay. All right. So. But yeah, I think I like what I see so far. I think Rizzi's got most of it right. There was a couple 4th and 1s. I think there was in the Atlanta game, there was a 4th and 1 late in the game that was very similar to the Dennis Allen 4th and 1 against Carolina, and Rizzi decided to punt. I wouldn't have done that, but overall, I think he's been okay. Overall, I think he's been right with a lot of the 4th down stuff. Chris Swanson for 3 minutes to end the video. This is after Atlanta.
Hey, James, this is Chris once again. I think our pass coverage was a little bit better despite losing Lattimore, even though Drake London did feast and Bijan Robinson did his.
We gave up. They had 2 receivers that should have had 100 yards. I think they had 2 receivers that were both in the 90s. The defense was lacking against the Falcons.
Best Marshawn Lynch impression.
Our defensive line was
I think
good.
our defense did a little bit better under Joe Woods. I like that we got a little more pressure on the quarterback than
Definitely got
the
more
last
pressure.
7 weeks.
Yeah.
I like that we had better pass coverage, but Alontae Taylor, he needs to stop being like Joey Porter Jr., stop holding on to receivers. Another thing is that Mickey Loomis is now talking about restructuring contracts at the end of the year. I don't really like that move. Tyrann Mathieu maybe, but Cam Jordan needs to retire. and Derek Carr needs to be moved off of. We need to start Rattler. We need to see what he can do, and we need to build a good roster around him, just like CJ has, just like Jaden Daniels has. We need to do that with Rattler. Rizzi, he looks like a good head coach from the first game. He looks like a passionate coach. He reminds me a lot of Dan Campbell, a lot like Mike Vrabel. Maybe he could be that type of coach. The Rizzler can lead us to wins. I don't know. Like, we'll see what happens. I have hope and optimism again. I just hope it keeps going up from here. So that's all I had to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, the Rattler thing, like, I just don't know if we're ready to hand the keys over to Rattler. I mean, we're not totally sure. It really depends on who the coaches are. If we go a different direction of head coach, it's definitely not going to be Rattler. I think the answer right now is probably, like, you got to try and find a way to restructure Carr down. If you can get Carr back down to close to what he's at now, and get him in that, like, 15th to, the 15th quarterback per year kind of number, then you probably just keep him. But he's got to be restructured. Like, the deal is crazy. The deal is too much. I mean, it goes too high. That's not going to work for what we're doing. As far as, like, Cam Jordan, I think Jordan retires. I think Ramczyk retires officially, which takes a lot off the books. I wouldn't be surprised if Tyrann retired or if Tyrann got restructured. I think Taysom gets restructured. I think DeMario comes back. But, yeah, I mean, they definitely have to do things. Like, they definitely have to make hard decisions, because they may decide, like, hey, we're not going to restructure these guys. And if that's the case, then you're probably not going to keep them either because of their contracts. So tough decisions will have to be made.
Hey, James, this is Chris, your favorite commentator. You're the best in New Orleans media. You're the face of the franchise, the man, myth, the legend. And what a game this was. It was a crazy game. MVS came out of nowhere. This guy came out of nowhere, put some big plays up on the board, 2 touchdowns. Alvin Kamara had a good game. Derek Carr had a decent game. I think the defense did better. They improved. I hate to see Lattimore traded, but defense played a little bit better under Joe Woods, in my opinion, than Dennis Allen this year. And Darren Rizzi, he reminds me of Dan Campbell a lot.
Typical Saints, like, storylines against us, but the fact that we probably will be playing against Lattimore is just unreal. I mean, think about the Saints season. Like, we almost played against Andy Dalton against Carolina. We played against Jameis Winston. We played against Sean Payton. Derek Carr is going to face his former team, and we are going to play against Marshawn Lattimore. Like, it's just like, I mean, the Saints are one of those teams that it's hard to even believe what happens to him.
He could be a Campbell-esque coach. He's just so passionate, and I can see his passion on the sideline. And I would be excited if he's the new head coach. I would love it if he stays head coach after this year. He's what the players need. The players love him. He's a good players coach. He has obviously built a culture, a little bit of a culture, you could say. I would like to see Saleh as the DC, keep Kubiak as the OC. I think we have something cooking. We do need some pieces. We need offensive line pieces. Could use a couple of defensive pieces, but I think the rebuild is going good as of right now. I think we'll be good in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need pieces. And Rizzi, Kubiak, Salah coaching staff is pretty gnarly. I mean, no doubt about that. That's about as good as it gets. Now, again, it's been 2 games. It's easy to say now. We got to wait and see what this team does moving forward. If they start losing games, dropping games, all of this Rizzi talk could be out of the window. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for your calls. Per usual, get on over to speakpipe.com, record a message. Can be anything. Can be anything at all. Have your voice heard, and I will react live, and you will be on the channel. Very cool. Okay, thank you very much for watching. I will see you in the next video.